Many years ago, I came across a few lines in a book that I connected with. They were, "It's easy to judge, but you never know another person's heart, what gives them strength and what breaks them down." I have learned to listen more and speak less. The result has been eye-opening conversations and inspirational moments that I have shared with you right here. Hello and welcome back to my channel. We are on location at Sheraton Kampala Hotel and my guest on Crystal One-on-One today is very special. She doesn't usually do interviews, so I am really grateful to have her. This episode is sponsored by Roke Telcom. Make sure you get yourself a Roke Plus package at home and your kids will be sorted with the e-learning and you can enjoy free internet all night and all weekend long. So I would like to welcome our female presidential aspirant, Nancy Kalembe. Hello.
Hello.
How
Crystal.
are you?
I'm fine, thank you.
My
How
goodness,
are you?
I'm fine.
You look amazing.
Thank you. So do you.
Thank you.
My goodness, we go way back. We
Yes.
go way back.
Yes, we do.
And I have a feeling a lot of people, especially now that you're coming out and you want to run for president in 2021, people are going to be like, who is this young lady? And I think we need to tell them, we need to share who Nancy is.
Young lady, okay.
Yes, young lady.
My hair, if you've not noticed, my hair is getting cleaner. I like to say, I think I'm washing my hair better. That's why it's getting cleaner than it used to be.
I could use that. That's one way of looking at it.
You're not getting gray, no. You're getting cleaner.
No, I have silver streaks in my hair. There's silver streaks. Nancy, oh my gosh. You know, when we first met back in 2003, I remember you saying you wanted to run for president one day.
And everybody laughed about it.
Exactly. Everyone was like, who is this very principled young lady? Because you were quite serious.
And at the time, I'd just left Miss Uganda. So, Miss Uganda, and you want to run for presidency one day.
Yeah, most people are like, but how do the two connect? But even going into Miss Uganda, I think it was very intentional for you.
No, actually.
No?
No.
Huh. Okay, so how did that happen?
We were at school. We were at university. And we'd been looking at at the time, the doctor was Miss Uganda. Dr. Rem, I think. And we were looking at these girls and they were beautiful. At the time I was a tomboy, if you remember. And everybody thought, this is great. And one of the people dared me to join Miss Uganda.
It was a dare.
It was a dare.
I thought like you had this...
No, we were at I was in statistics at the faculty. We were having breakfast and one of my friends dared me to join Miss Uganda. I said, you know, I can do anything. He said, first of all, you've never owned a pair of high heels. You've been a tomboy all your life. Why on earth would you do Miss Uganda? I said, I don't like dares. He said, well, I'm daring you. I said, fine. So the intention was not to go all the way. The intention was to prove that I can actually pick up the forms and join Miss Uganda. Wherever I would drop off, that would be fine. So I picked up the forms. And on the day I picked up the forms, I think it was the day they were doing nominations for Kampala. I was pretty late. So I arrived in my jeans and t-shirt. No, it wasn't a t-shirt, it was a baggy shirt. You remember the square shirts we used to wear? They were very boyish. And I was in sneakers. So when I arrived and said I wanted to join Miss Uganda, they were also surprised because when you appear for a beauty contest, you should at least look like a beauty queen. And here I was looking like some tomboy who's come out of some... So anyway, they gave me the forms, but everybody was looking at me like, how can't you see you don't fit in this space? Anyway, I wanted to fulfill the fact that I had been dared and I'm proving them that I can do this. That very day I was selected among the top I think we were 24. Now, that was not my plan.
So your plan was just, okay, let me just prove
Them
I can.
I can. So when I was selected, it changed everything. I had to find a way of telling my dad, who was very strict, about the fact that I was joining a beauty contest.
How did that go down?
Well, my father was a very strict man, and this was not something I was going to easily just throw on him. So
you had a plan. Sounds like you had a plan.
One day, with my heart pumping very fast, I think it was the following day, I didn't want them to find out before I had told them. So I went back home and I wanted to pull out, but they said, you can't, you've been selected among the top 24. I don't even know how that happened. And so they gave me a dress that day. Can you take pictures in this dress? I think I'll find the pictures somewhere in the archives. Can you please put on this dress? And they gave me a pair of high heels, and I've never walked in high heels. So when I went back home, there was a newspaper about Miss World and the things they had done. And you know, everybody sees how dignified Miss World is. But at the time, being in Miss Uganda was like you were a spoiled child. So I came from that angle. I showed my dad the Miss World, you know, beauty pageant that was in the newspapers. And he said, oh, this is great. So I said, but Dad, did you know to become Miss World, you have to be Miss Uganda first? He said, of course, that would be very great. I said, really? What would happen if one of your daughters became Miss World? And he said, oh, that would be great. I said, what if they joined Miss Uganda? No problem. So I told him, Daddy, I am joining Miss Uganda. He said, impossible. That cannot happen.
Like he didn't
But he
expect it
just
of you.
said it was great for his daughter to be Miss World.
He was saying that because he did not think that it could actually happen.
Exactly. So he said, what do you mean? I told him, first I need money to buy high heels and a few dresses, because then I had very few dresses. And he was in shock. He didn't know what to think of it. So I told him, you know, I've gone through the contest and I'm one of the finalists. I think there were 24, 23 finalists. And I think it took him time to process. He'd locked himself up by saying it was great, the Miss World part, and it was great. Now I'm telling him I'm actually going to do this, and I think he thought of a way to get out of it. Surprisingly, he supported me all the way.
Okay.
He said, as long as you're decent and you don't do anything funny, it is all right. So fast forward, I joined Miss Uganda. He actually attended the final.
Nice.
Our year, we didn't have a swimsuit contest.
Thank God.
Because I knew if we did have a swimsuit contest, I'd be dead when I went back home. So we negotiated, and that year they were very kind to us. So I had to wear a long dress, I had to not appear anywhere in a swimsuit, things like that, so that my dad would be happy, but at the same time I'm proving my friends wrong, and I felt like I'd been locked up in some kind of thing I couldn't get out of. So Miss Uganda was never part of the plan. It was just me being daring because someone dared me to.
Is that who you are? When people say you can't, you're like, let me show you.
Actually, a lot of times when I'm told I cannot do something, I find out why.
Okay.
Is it because it's a bad thing, or because no one has tried it before, or everybody who has done it has failed? If it has no moral issues, then I tried.
Okay.
I like to prove that things can be done.
Okay.
In my language, we say, "Ekitayogera tikirema ayogera," meaning that which cannot speak cannot be too difficult for someone who speaks. So if something has never been done before, Well, no one used to walk on the moon. One day, someone
Someone
went to
did.
the moon. So that's how life is. I believe when God created us, He made us in His image, but also in His likeness. Now, when we are told you can do all things through Christ who strengthens us, it means all things.
Okay.
My only boundary is remaining within the boundaries of what is right.
Okay. Now you mentioned that when you were breaking this down to your father, very smart by the way, nice way to go about it. You first lock him in and say yes, and then after it's like, what did I just say? But you mentioned now if one of his daughters. So how many siblings do you have?
I have 18 brothers and sisters.
Ah, big family.
Big family, lovely family.
Okay.
However, I grew up in an even bigger family.
Okay.
We were raised with cousins and aunties and uncles and grandparents, and so while I was growing up, it was actually very difficult to draw the boundary on who is my cousin, who is my brother, who's my sister.
Okay.
We grew up
All
with so
together.
much love.
Okay. So when your dad said impossible, when you said you would be going, was it because of what he knew about you? Are you the oldest, youngest? Where are you?
I'm a middle child somewhere.
Somewhere in the middle. Okay. So was it because he didn't see you doing that?
There was most traditional parents don't think that it is dignified for someone to go for a beauty contest, because all they see is you're going to be judged only basing on your looks.
Yeah.
So I had to break it down that, you know what, if you see, I had to introduce him to the Miss Indias who were neurosurgeons,
Exactly.
the other Miss Worlds who have been lawyers and cardiologists and all that. So when he saw that actually, if there's a Miss India who had been a neurosurgeon, which was amazing. So I said, it's not only airheads, because people think that if you're beautiful, you're
There's
not
nothing going on up
intelligent.
here.
Exactly.
Yes.
So I like the fact that there are Miss Worlds who have been neurosurgeons, lawyers, and all kinds of professions, which shows that the box in which women had been put in before, that if you are beautiful, probably there is nothing in your head,
Yeah, that's changing.
is non-existent. And you can see that is changing.
I love that. I love that, because also whatever you're passionate about, this is an amazing platform. So that's why I thought you used it intentionally, thinking that was a platform for something you were passionate about. But then
No.
it's probably carried you into other areas, spaces you never thought you might have been in.
You know, we're planning, we're always planning. But God has a master plan for everything.
Yeah.
So a few people have asked me, your life seems to be, did you plan everything? Because it seems now things seem to be falling in place. Like
Yes.
you had a puzzle and now the puzzle seems to be falling in
The
place.
pieces are coming together.
I said, no, I didn't plan most of that. He plans, I just happen to be in part of the big plan.
So let's go way back. Where were you born?
I was born in Mulago Hospital.
Mulago baby.
Yes.
Uh-huh.
On 15th September 1980. That's the point you tell me, oh, but you look 18.
But you do! That is just
Anyway,
a number on a paper. We don't know
I
that
was
one.
born on 15th September 1980 in Mulago Hospital
Okay.
to George Patrick Bagea and Ida Sise Kubaza.
Okay.
Unfortunately, they're both late.
All right. When did your mom pass? I think she
My
passed
mom
before?
passed away when I was 13 years old,
All right.
and my dad And my dad passed away very recently in 2011.
Sorry about that.
It is well. I'd like to think they're in heaven having coffee with one of the angels or Jesus.
Did you miss having a mother, or did you have other mother figures in your life?
Of course, you miss having a mother, but as I said, I grew up in a big family. And we grew up with so much love. Big families come with the whole package. You fight a lot.
There's a
You
lot of
laugh
drama.
a lot. There's a lot of drama. But there was no time that we were bored. I don't remember being bored at home for any reason. There was always something going on. And you didn't spend a lot of time thinking about what you don't have, because what we had was so much. I had so many brothers, so many sisters, and in there we were friends. You fight with somebody today and you don't want to talk to them, there are 10 other people you can talk to, and then when you make up, life moves on.
That's a good way of looking at it, by the way.
I've always loved big families because my big family was, we never had a dull moment. We had moments when we were worried about canes because we were up to a lot of mischief.
Speaking of being a tomboy,
Yes.
what did you get up to?
I became a tomboy because I grew up at a time when most of my sisters had left home. They were either at university, or I had one little sister in the house,
Okay.
and everybody else was a boy.
Okay.
So somehow it was, you end
So
up,
for you to play with the boys.
you're playing with the boys, you're hanging out with the boys, so you end up being like them. And there was a lot of, you had to prove that you were strong enough, you were fast enough. So that helped with you remember I was into sports and all that.
Yes, you were very sporty.
So it was always about being good enough. So we had to compete. You try to compete with your grades, you try to compete with strength. So in the process, I ended up learning how to do a lot of things.
Okay.
I grew up in a traditional family, so a woman, you're supposed to cook, clean, and but then the boys have cleaning compounds, bulbs, wires broken, and all that, the stuff that boys do, washing cars.
And you were part of that too.
So I had aunties telling me, a girl has to do this, a girl has to do this, a lady has to do this, a princess has to do this. But then I had brothers who would challenge me, you can't do this because you're a girl. I said, okay.
I love it.
So, yes.
And school? Where did you go?
School,
I remember Namagunga.
Yes, I went to a number of schools actually.
Okay.
Because we shifted homes from Kampala at some point. We moved to Jinja. Then at some point my parents were very busy, so I moved to boarding school. I started out in Kitante Primary School. And then my parents had to move to Jinja, so I moved to Victoria Primary School in Jinja. Then our parents got busy and they were never at home, so they thought maybe boarding school would be a good thing. So I was taken to Buddha Junior, and that's where I finished my P7. And so I joined Namagunga. Spent 4 years there, and I joined Mariam High.
For A-levels.
For A-levels, that's where I finished my A-levels. I did, for my A-level, I didn't remain in one school. I finished in Mariam High. I did my S5 in Mariam High. But I was in other schools before.
What's happening?
I told you, my family had, my dad was a politician and a businessman. My mom died when I was 13, and sometimes you had to move school because of the circumstances. So I did 2 other schools before I joined Mariam High, where I did the 2 years and finished. So it was really, I was adaptable.
Okay.
I could easily adapt to any situation I was in because that's how we were raised.
Yeah.
1 minute you are sleeping in your bed. For those of us who grew up in the 80s, another minute you have to sleep under the bed. So we were raised in a manner that you could fit anywhere. If you had to move in the middle of the night and get taken to your grandmother's or to your aunties or uncles in the middle of the night, you didn't whine and complain.
You knew it was
We
just
took
part of life.
everything as it was thrown at us. So if I was moved to a school, you didn't ask too many questions. You knew that's the circumstance now.
Your father being in politics,
Yeah.
has it had any bearing on you wanting to run for president?
Actually, surprisingly, I grew up not liking politics at all.
Okay.
I didn't like politics because my earliest memories of politics was the 80s, when some of my uncles and came back from exile,
Yes.
and my dad didn't. And we had guns in the compound, army men in the compound. It was not nice, this politics. Then we grew up and, okay, maybe the war ended and it stabilized a bit. But politics was never really nice, especially for the people in the families that were political. Why? In our particular case, you were not sure if you could use your father's name in certain spaces or not.
Wow, you're aware
Because
of
you,
that.
yes, we were aware of that quite early. A lot of people asked me why I used my father's name for a very short time and then changed it. When you realize you're not sure who you're with and whether they're your father's enemies or not, or you learn to adapt. You learn to adapt to situations and just fit into the spaces that you were in. My dad left sometimes in the middle of the night, or sometimes you're having dinner, 1 minute you're having dinner and another minute someone is at the gate, they open up the gate, army men come in and he gets out. No explanations. It was, for people it would be strange. For us it was
normal.
he goes and he comes back alive.
When he comes back.
When he comes back, you just know army men took him, and you wake up one morning and he's back. And other things that I'm not sure my family would be comfortable with me discussing here. So,
but did he ever talk to you
about
like
politics?
sit down and talk to you
No.
about what he was dealing with?
You see, I had, I like to say I was blessed to have more than one father and more than one mother because of how we lived. We were raised by uncles and aunties. I had 3 fathers. One was a professor, an academician who wanted our grades to be good, and he followed us up on that one. He died much earlier when we were younger. Then we had the business father who was my biological father, but he was also in politics. He was very hard and strong, and you had to do certain things a particular way. And then I have a politician father. So people ask me, okay, so these 2 fathers, you have George Patrick Bagea, who everybody knew because he died recently. My academician father died when we were still very young. I think I was about 9, so very few people know about that. When I was younger, I was called Nancy Chirunda. So most of my old friends, especially from primary, relate to me as Nancy Chirunda. But as I grew older, I had to change names. I changed names again at some point and then settled with Nancy Kalembe because we had to be safe. So, but on all my academic papers, it's Nancy Kalembe that is on. So,
that is a lot of awareness for a child, though. Huh?
But I guess, it depends
like
on how you present it to a child. it was not presented in a way of fear. We just knew politics wasn't it. Someone would think probably my parents talked to me about politics. On the contrary, they kind of discouraged us from politics.
Ah, okay.
They told us, you know, this is not a good place. But I think that when they were talking to us, they were talking to the boys. I don't think my father had it in mind that he'd be talking to the girls, telling them, you know, don't go into politics. My other father, Chirunda Chive Ginger, always told us, study, work very hard, get a job, do your businesses, don't get into politics. So most of them advised us not to do politics. But I've had to sit down. So now my other two dads have passed on, including my biological father.
Yes.
So now I had to face Honorable Chive Ginger and tell him
Your plans.
I would like to do this. Guess what his answer was?
What?
Never.
What?
Impossible.
Oh my.
Why would you do something like that? I said, you know what? I know politics has been deemed to be a bad thing for some people. And when you get in, you get your hands dirty. Some people have survived, others have not. So we have a few politicians who have kept their integrity and are doing a great job and are working hard and are serving. What stops me from being part of that? I don't have to be part of the bad politicians. I can be part of the good ones. So I said, give me some time. So I had to wait.
And you needed his blessing.
Of course, you need your parents' blessing before you get in to do anything. By the way, I have his permission to say this.
That's good.
So I started speaking to him a while back because I couldn't go out in public before my family knows. So I had to tell my family members, this is what I'm doing. Guess what their response was? You cannot.
Seriously.
My brothers and sisters told me, you know what, when daddy was in politics, da 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 la 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 la. So
you had a lot of convincing to
yes, you know, it's easier to face the public than it is to face your family sometimes, you know.
Yeah.
So when you have a lot of big brothers and sisters, I'm number 11 by the way.
Oh.
When you have a lot of big brothers and sisters who have achieved so much in their lives and are doing great things with their lives, and then you, small sister, you come up, you want to join politics. Okay, I shared it on the family WhatsApp group first so that I can prepare them.
So you're going to have to face them?
No, you don't come and face someone.
You first put it there.
This is what I would like to do. Why? Because in my family we've been taught to respect your older sisters and older brothers. Most of them have played a mother-father role in my life through the years at some point. So here I am. These are people who bathed you and told you eat your food, and now you're telling them you want to run for presidency. So I told them, you know, I'm thinking about joining politics. Politics? What are you going to do in politics? I took a day and then responded slowly, and some of them were very uncomfortable because that means you're not just going into the public space by yourself.